This is Ibrox.
Hi, my name's Hugh Nibloe. I'm here for the This is Ibrox podcast, and I'm fortunate to be speaking to Dan Porritt from the Huddersfield Town podcast, and he takes that chance about what signing of Juninho Bacuna, and we'll hopefully get a lowdown from Dan and the goods and the bads and all the ugly of what hopefully will be a super signing for us. But Dan, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. How was yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm good. You were smiling after the entry time winner today.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It wasn't the best performance that you'll ever see. But went 1-0 up, away victory, you take it, don't you? And then Billy Sharp, who is a bit of a thorn in our side sometimes, always seems to score against us. Pops one in on 92, and you're thinking, do you know what? We've thrown it away there, and you sort of think, just make sure we don't concede a second and end up losing it. But fortunately, went down to the other end, and 94th minute, Levi Colwell popped up centre half. So I'm not quite sure why he were up there, but he was. So fair play to him, and he stuck it in, and 2-1 victory. So very happy man tonight.
Yeah,
makes a change, to be fair.
Well, last couple of seasons, but yeah, and to be fair, Billy Sharp's been a thorn in a lot of team sides. He's one of them players that seems to have been around forever. When I looked and seen on it come up in Soccer Saturday that he'd scored, I was like, he's still playing. But yeah, no, good 3 points to get, and hopefully set you up for the season and maintain that winning streak.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's one of them. If you play poorly and win, you can't really grumble too much, can you? So we'll put it in the bag and move on, as they say.
That's it. So we're going to talk about Juninho and what kind of player would you say that Rangers are getting?
Well, where do you start with Juninho Bacuna? He's, I'm sure yourself and Rangers fans, as we all do when you sign a new player, sort of nip onto social media and sort of have a look at the reaction from the selling club to see what fans are thinking. And I think Juninho Bacuna is one of those that has never really split a fan base like it at Huddersfield Town. It's probably a 50-50 split between I'm really glad he's going, I'll drive him up in my car, to can't believe we've let him go for the reported sort of between 1 and 2 million. He's one of those players that on his day can be 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Not on his day, he's down at 2 and 3, and there's very rarely days where he's in between. Just doing a little bit of looking before we came on, I looked at our local paper, like they do the ratings and stuff in the local paper, and the last couple of seasons he's averaged about 5.4, which tells its own story there, that very rarely is it consistently 6 or 7 is either really good or really poor. He's certainly got the ability there, or I think he has. I've always sort of championed him. I think he's got the ability. It's just whether or not he can deliver it on a consistent basis. If he can, if you've bought him for the reported between sort of 1 and 2 million, for me, you've got an absolute bargain there. So it depends what Juninho Bacuna turns up at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, or whenever we play these days. He has to move around all the time, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know when we play 3 o'clock on a Saturday. It's the minority of times in a season anyway. But yeah, no, I'm hoping, I'm going with you, and hopefully it'll turn out to be a bargain. But at Rangers, Steven Gerrard, he always plays the 4-3-3. He's got the 2 inverted wingers behind the striker, and Davis tends to sit deep, and then we've got the 2 number 8s, I guess you'd call them, from midfield. Where do you think Juninho's best position would be?
I would suggest we used to play for the fashionable 4-2-3-1 formation, which I didn't really think suited Bacuna, to be honest. He got moved around a lot at Town. He played sort of left wing, right wing, right back even on a couple of occasions. But for me, he is a number 8. So if you are playing with sort of 4-3-3 with 2/8, I would imagine he'll take up one of those slots. He likes to sort of get on the ball and go forward. He's got a decent shot. He's not scared of dribbling. He's not. I won't class him as a skillful footballer. He's just more direct, if that makes sense. He'll just pick it up and sort of on half turn and just drive towards edge of box. He likes a tackle. Sometimes you'll wince, you'll watch him, and he almost waits for the tackle, if that makes sense. And you think, if you'd have just put your foot down, you'd have got that, and you round him, he'll hang on and make it a 50-50. I'd imagine Rangers fans are similar to Town fans, and they'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd have him down as an 8. Like a traditional 8. He can do a little bit of everything in centre midfield, and I do think that was one of his problems at Town, that he never cemented that spot due to injuries within the squad. He's one of those that can fill in. I wouldn't say he's a jack of all trades, but he can do a job in different positions for the week or two. So as a squad player as well, to sort of be able to slot in if you do have injuries, he'll fit in well. But yeah, if I were putting him on my team sheet, he'd be an 8.
Yeah, it sounds good. That's, I think, something that we've been looking for when you're saying about having a shot from the edge of the box. That's something we've been crying out for too many years now, is somebody just to shoot. That way, when everybody in the stadium's just like shoot, and
yeah,
we struggled to have somebody that will regularly take the chance, will more likely to look for the pass. So sounds promising that he will be the guy that will take a shot on. Is he left-footed, right-footed? Is it more what side?
I think he's predominantly right, but he's quite good with both feet. He's got a good range of passing with both feet, and like I say, he likes it. He's not shy of taking one on from 25, 30 yards. So, but yeah, probably the right hand side of a midfield 3 if he were playing there.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Side Kamara, I think. So his strengths, his shot, I'm guessing his range of passing and things. You're saying his strengths. What about weaknesses? So.
Weaknesses. His main weakness, and I'll sort of put it in inverted commas in regards to attitude. He's one of those players that if it's not going his way, he's not interested. Basically, he's sort of very lethargic on the field. He's not one to. Although it's odd because he likes a tackle, but he won't go looking for one. He's not a box to box. He's not a. He won't crop up in areas where you wouldn't expect a centre midfielder to crop up if it's not going his way. It is that lethargic sort of ambience that he portrays that gets a lot of fans' backs up. You've obviously, you've got your players that sort of here, there, and everywhere, and fans love them, don't they? Because they are here, there, and everywhere. But Bacuna's not like that, and it can sort of get fans' backs up. And sometimes you got the impression with Bacuna that if he did something well, that were it. That's fine. I've scored from 20 yards now, so that was my job done. I'm not really going to do all else. So it'll be an interesting one to see how he goes at Rangers. I think at Town he's done 3 seasons with us. Obviously 1 season in Premier League and 2 in Championship, where unfortunately for us, majority of games we have been losing. Whereas at Rangers, if you're winning more than you're losing, I think he'll probably thrive. So you'll probably see a different type of Bacuna than what we got at Huddersfield. He's one of those crowd, if they're on side with him, again, he loves it. If it goes other way, sometimes his social media posts after games leave a lot to be desired. The old cryptic messages, and you can see that he's having a bit of having a pop. So football, like I say, football and ability, it's there. It's just whether or not he can apply himself on a consistent basis. And if he does, you've got a good player.
Yeah, I think he's played under 3, maybe 4 managers in his time at Huddersfield. Was there any of them that got the best out of him? And I mean, you know Steven Gerrard. So we all grew up with Steven Gerrard, and you'll know the sort of type of character he is and the way he drives and his standards and things like that.
Yeah.
We had some of the stories of Gerrard and Carragher over the years at Liverpool. Do you think that'll be a good mix, him and Gerrard? Because he won't let him be lazy. Yeah,
I think it'll be one of those where obviously Gerrard were a midfielder, like to get forward. So I can see a lot of similarities in how Gerrard and Bacuna would play. That they are similar in some respects. So yeah, again, if it's going well, I can see a demanding manager getting the best out of him. If it's not going so well, he's one of those that argumentatively could throw Teddy out at Pram. In saying that, though, a lot of Town fans did question his attitude with us, but we have had some bad apples in squad at Town. We've had players sort of refusing to play and not turning up for training and all that sort of stuff. But he never did that. He were always there. I think the last 2 seasons he's the third most played player in both seasons. So it tells you a lot about his commitment. He has played through injuries sometimes and stuff like that. So in regards to having a bad attitude, I would say he's not. It just maybe looks like he has sometimes more than it actually being a bad attitude. But I think working under Gerrard, if you're a centre midfielder and you're not willing to learn from Steven Gerrard, you might as well hang your boots up, haven't you? Because arguably we're one of the best that's ever been. So if Gerrard can sort of manage him and get the best out of him, I think he'll do well. I think he'll thrive under someone like Gerrard.
Hope so. Fingers crossed. I noted that he hasn't played at all this season. Is that an injury, or has the manager just decided that he wasn't in the plan? So
no, he's not featured at all this year, and I think that's purposely. I don't think it's all to do with any sort of fallout or not being wanted by the manager. He was out of contract with Bacuna at the end of last season. We had an option to take an extra year. Again, another decision by our chairman that's kind of divided the fan base. We gave him the extra year so we could sell him, if that makes sense. I think Rangers were interested back end of last season. It's kind of been a bit of a rumour that's been going around down here for a while that Rangers do want Bacuna. So I think the chairman's took the option of the extra year, knowing that he were never going to play, and it were basically just so we could get a transfer fee for him. I were one of those that I thought it were a bit of a ridiculous gamble to take, bearing in mind it would have been on Premier League wages because they rolled over. Obviously, we don't know how much it is, but we're not exactly swimming in money at Town at the moment. So it was a big gamble, and you could argue, depending on the fee that's obviously not been disclosed, you could argue it has paid off for Town, but I do think Rangers have probably got him at a lesser amount than they might have done if he'd have had a couple of years left. So yeah, although he's not featured, don't read into that. That's purely probably a business decision from Town, in that there was no point in playing him, no point in putting him in pre-season because he wasn't going to feature long term.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear. I know Steven Gerrard had said that he's not at full fitness yet, but he certainly didn't act as if he had an injury, it was current injury, so it was just wondering why he hadn't sort of made it, or hadn't made any appearances. But it's good to know that it's just basically keeping them safe and away from everything, because like you say, I guess it would be a disaster if he'd get injured in the first couple of games.
That's it, yeah. I think he's been involved in training. I've seen a few bits and bobs in training, but certainly not, match days. He's not been there, and I think he was involved internationally as well over the summer. So he's probably not up to full fitness, but he's probably not far off.
Yeah, I know that he's totally split the fan base. He said he didn't know the dummies out of the pram or anything like that, but what type of character do you know of him, like in the changing room? Did he get on with other players? Did he have his cryptic messages on social media to fans and things like that? Was there ever any a good time when he first signed or anything, or has it been like that throughout?
No, I think it's just, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to describe him as a person. He's just, he just got always one of them. He just sometimes reminds me of a sort of a petulant, sulky teenager, grunting and that kind of demeanour sometimes comes across on pitch. But yeah, when he first signed, there were a few games and stuff where majority of fans sort of loved him. I don't know if it got to the point where, like I say, we were losing all the time, and I don't know if it became a bit of a mental slog for him rather than an ability thing. Like I say, the ability were always there, but sometimes when he were playing, he did look disinterested. But I do believe that is just his demeanour. I don't think it was a purposeful one. he made a couple of mistakes early on. I think it was his championship season, and fans sort of got on his back there. And like I say, at Town, we are one of those that we like. If a player has zero ability but puts in 120%, we would favour that over someone who has the world. We could have Ronaldo or Messi playing at Town, and if it were perceived that they weren't giving 100%, fans wouldn't like them. It's just that sort of club. At Town, we sort of have that, that Yorkshire grit and working class determination, and that comes before all else. We can forgive you being rubbish if you try. Whereas Bacuna kind of broke the mould and were more the other way. He could not try and do something good. And you'd hear fans afterwards sometimes, he could have played really well, but he didn't run for that ball, or he was too slow taking that throw in. And it was almost like some fans were looking for stuff sometimes to have a pop at him.
Yeah.
In regards to sort of forming friendships with other players, as they all do, there's little cliques within clubs, and he sort of had one at Town when I think he were drawn towards the bad apples that we did have on the books. And I think sometimes that is a bit of a misconception, because as I say, he were always available, he were always ready and willing to play, and play through injuries and stuff like that. So again, it just depends. He's a bit of a maverick, is Bacuna. One game he can, like I say, you can think he's the world's best, and next match you can think, Christ, he won't get in dog and duck side on a Sunday kind of thing. So I think the key is for Rangers to get a consistent Bacuna out, and even if it's only a 6 or 7 out of 10, but if you can do that consistently, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and when you're saying about the Huddersfield Town fans, it's very much the same up here. We'd rather see somebody break their leg smashing into a challenge than somebody players. It shows more heart and desire to go in and totally reckless and clean somebody out. I remember Kyle Bartley taking Scott Brown out in an Old Firm, and I think that's one of the loudest, probably one of the most replayed YouTube clips of any Old Firm game.
Yeah.
Kevin Thompson was the exact same. So yeah, no, we're very.
It'd be interesting to see Bacuna in an Old Firm actually, because he is literally one of those that'll smash one in top corner and then 2 seconds later get sent off. So it would, in that sort of environment, he'll either sort of sink or swim.
Well, we've got them next Sunday, so it might just happen at home. So that would be some home debut.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, hopefully if he is there, he does sink one in the top corner and then clean somebody out just before the end of the game, and he'll be an absolute fan favourite, and he can do nothing for the rest of his time in Glasgow.
Yeah, that'll be job done. It won't be £1 million well spent.
Never need to buy another pint in Glasgow. So we're talking about his potential and things like that. Well, if he does settle down, he does switch on at Rangers, how far do you see him going? Will he make it back into the Premier League, like a top half team, or?
For me, he's got it in his locker. He's got potential to play Premier League football on a regular basis. I'm not suggesting he'd be at Man U or Man City, or he won't be sort of top 6, but he could do a job quite happily mid-table sides, a Bournemouth, somebody like that. He'd quite happily hold his own for me. Everton, somewhere like that. He'd probably do a job at Everton. Somewhere. So just out, top 10. So it's up to him. It was like one of them. You just want to check him and be like, just put the effort in, mate, and the sky is the limit. If honestly, he could be looking at a call up for Holland if he got his head screwed on. I can't understand it. I don't understand why players who have the ability don't seem to apply themselves. Is it in his younger career where he stand out, where he played when he was young and he'd always been the best, and he doesn't seem to need to want to improve, if you get me, or is it just how he is? It just baffles me, to be honest, mate, because if I had that sort of talent, I'd be doing everything I could to portray it best I could week in, week out. But everybody's different out of there. But he's certainly got the ability, definitely.
It's absolutely no secret that Rangers are a club now for buying low, selling high. and that's ultimately probably what they'll be looking for, is to sell him back down to the Premier League and get some good money from him. That's always our hope now when we get players. Horrible feeling nowadays, being so used to growing up with a big club and we don't sell our players, but now we have to fit in with a model and we've got to buy cheap, sell big. So
I genuinely do think it is a good move for him, and I can see why. I could see why he'd go there. With no disrespect to Scottish football, it could be a stepping stone back in to Premier League football, because he needs a move away from. He needed a move away from Town. He's the sort of player that will enjoy winning football matches, which obviously, you know, sort of Rangers Celtic do on a regular basis up there. So the atmosphere within the club will be different. Obviously, there's different pressures in regards to that, because it's kind of almost expected to win on a weekly basis. But I think he's one of those that he will thrive on winning. So, you know, he's not shy of a goal. You know, up in Scotland from midfield, if he might, you know, might be looking at 10, 15 goals a season from him. So, you know, I am genuine. You know, when sometimes somebody leaves your club and you're like, oh, well, sad to see him go, but I won't give him a second thought. I think Bacuna is one of those that I will genuinely keep an eye on, certainly for this year, because I'm so intrigued to how it will work out. It could go either way. Honestly, it could. Obviously, for you guys, I hope it goes the right way, and for Town as well, because I think there's add-ons potentially in there in regards to, you know, success at Rangers. So, you know, what's good for you is good for us as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be a percentage sale on in there somewhere, whether it's every club seems to nowadays have 10-20% sale on clause in the contract. So we'd both win if that was the case. So he's central midfielder. He's going to get people out of their seats, and well, not me, hopefully, because I'm in a wheelchair myself, so I'll end up in the concrete if I come out of the seat. But get the fans out of the seats and score a goal and put a good challenge in. So just keeping him interested, I guess, and just hope that he doesn't lose interest and doesn't switch off. And
he's one of those players that, if I were going to give any advice to Rangers fans, is a player that needs an arm around him rather than a kick up the arse. You know, some players thrive on crowd having a pop at them and they turn around and give it all this, and you know, cup into ears to the crowd, and I'm going to prove you wrong type. I don't get that impression from Bacuna. If he's struggling out, the best thing Rangers fans can do is get behind him and big him up, and he seems to thrive off that rather than a bollocking, if that makes sense. So yeah, if he's having a down day, give him a bit of love, and you know, hopefully he'll turn himself around.
There'll be a big chunk of the fans, I'm sure it will, but I'm sure like Huddersfield and everywhere else, there'll be a section of the fans that if he doesn't deliver in the first 5 minutes, then out. But yeah, no, it sounds good. That's kind of thing I like to hear, is get behind him, support the player and stuff like that, and that'll get the best out of him. So I guess that would be a message to our fans, is back him, and who knows how far he can go. Yeah. So about at Huddersfield, is there any other players Rangers should keep an eye on? I know you don't want to sell your players, but is there anybody else that we should?
We're still going through a bit of a transition at Town at the moment, to be honest. Obviously we've come down from Premier League a couple of years ago, and without going into massive detail, wasted a lot of his money that you get from getting up there, bought in players that just weren't right for the club. So we're offloading a lot of those at the minute, and we're looking to bring, similar to Rangers, I suppose, bring in younger players for cheap and sort of give them that platform to perform. And you know, we're certainly not a club that are standing in anybody's way. We're quite happy to buy cheap, sell high, and you know, if players come to Town and do a good job, it benefits us and it benefits them. Probably a couple we've got at the moment. Harry Toffolo, left-sided sort of defender stroke wing back. He came in from Lincoln. He's done really well. He's progressed and is probably one of our better players. Sorba Thomas has come in early this season from Boreham Wood. So he's sort of coming from non-league, and he's took to it like a duck to water. He's one of his most attacking threats that we've got at the moment. So yeah, if I were not that I want them to leave, but if I were suggesting any players, they'd probably two to keep an eye on.
Well, I'll keep an eye on them, and I'm saying that Rangers can snap them up. I don't know what money situation is, but certainly I think we've paid a wee bit for Bacuna, so maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting that they've not disclosed the fee in it from both ends.
Seems to be.
I don't like it when I know like it's up to them in it, but fans want to know, don't they, how much we've got?
Always want to know.
And we can moan that we aren't spending any money because we know we've just got X million in. That's probably why they do it, isn't it?
That's when we just want to say that we're spending money, that we've got money to spend, because I think that's one thing that the other side try and rip out of us, is that we've got no money, and it's like, well, we're buying players, so there must be money.
It's become a bit of a thing, though, hasn't it, in football? I know we're sort of going off tangent a little bit, but fans and clubs seem to champion, we've paid 10 million for this guy, or we've look at in England 100 million for Jack Grealish, and it's almost like a badge of honour now that we've paid the most money for somebody, and that's great. But if you can buy people at 500,000 and they can do what you need them to do, then why pay more, kind of thing? It's got a bit silly, hasn't it, with money and stuff like that. And like you say, club like Celtic there, you can't buy players like we can. Well, does it matter if we're top at league? I'd rather have a team of free transfers and be top at league than a team that costs 500 million put together and be sat in second. So it's a bit of a strange thing, is how much people move for.
We won the league last year, and out of the half dozen midfielders, central midfielders, $250,000 was the most we'd paid for one.
Yeah.
$50,000 for another, and then I think the rest had come in freeze.
Yeah.
Jack and Davis were all frees and things, so the $250,000 was Juninho Bacuna was a development fee to Charlton. So what you spend, it's what you get out of them, I guess.
100%, mate. Fully agree. Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get the better end of the Bacuna deal, and we'll both win in the long run, because we'll sell him back to England for 75 million just or something, just because some owner fancies spending more than somebody else did.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. I think it's all timing, innit? You've got a club that you need to have the club that want a certain position, and that player be available. And these days it's make me an offer and we'll go from there, innit? Yeah,
no, that's it. But no, that was great. Brilliant insight into Juninho Bacuna, and it's great having that chat with you. Find Dan at And He Takes That Chance podcast, talking all things Huddersfield, I imagine, and hoping you have a good season. 7 points in the bag, not to be sniffed at. So hopefully that'll continue, and let's get seas back up the top, challenging for Premier League again, and keep my fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you. I think last couple of seasons we've had have been a bit of a relegation scrap, so I'm quite happy to finish mid-table this year and just go into the back end of the season, just not having to be looking over his shoulder. Would be nice for once. Thank you for having me on, and good luck to Rangers. Like I say, I'll be keeping an eye out on Rangers and certainly Mr. Bacuna and see how he's getting on.
Cheers for that. I've been Shug for This Is Ibrox, and tune in for our flagship show, which gets released early on a Tuesday morning. Thanks for that.